It is a great time to be a VR owner because there are so many VR games coming out at the moment that are big and badass, and I have been playing one of those this week.
Ooh. Which game have you been playing, Ian?
It's called Metro Awakening. It is the newest release in the Metro series, but this time it is developed by Vertigo Games, who are a prolific VR developer. So everyone in the VR world has been very excited about this one. Me too. And I spent the entirety of yesterday and part of the day before playing through the whole thing.
And part of the early hours as well.
Yeah, into like about 1:30. My eyes, this is one of the reasons why we're not on video, is because I look like I've had my soul sucked out of my body.
Amazing, and that's the energy that we're bringing into this Metro Awakening review.
Exactly.
So I have some questions I need to ask you about it, actually.
Please do. I've got things to say.
Oh, good. Okay, so let's start off with the super simple one. So for those who are only familiar with the main console games, what is Metro Awakening?
Okay, so Metro Awakening is set in the Metro universe, which was created by Russian author Dmitry Glukhovsky, but it is a standalone story, so it doesn't follow the adventures of Artyom, which the other games have done. This one stars, you play as a guy called Serdar, who basically he's a doctor in an underground metro station where everyone's hunkered up after a nuclear war. And basically, I don't want to go into too many story spoilers because this game is quite narrative heavy, but Serdar goes after his wife, who's gone running off into the metro because she can hear the voice of her dead son, who has been talking to her from beyond the physical world. I don't know. Basically, this game, just like the other Metro games, there's a lot of kind of, I don't know how to put it. It's
spooky,
metaphysical.
eerie.
I don't know. Yeah, it asks a lot of questions about what happens after we die, what ghosts are, is a reincarnation a thing. It goes very deep into these concepts narratively, alongside being at its core, a survival horror shooter game that involves a lot of scavenging and a lot of sneaking around, if you want.
If you want. Well, that leads perfectly onto my next question, which is how well has the gameplay from the Metro series been translated to VR? Because the game itself is, I find it terrifying because it's so tense and like claustrophobic, especially when you're underground. So what's it like in VR?
Well, yeah, the gameplay has translated really well to VR, actually. They've done a great job of turning the whole Metro concept into a VR game, basically. The main thing you'll be fiddling around with when you're in the Metro system is your backpack, which is a very cool physical version of an inventory. So you grab one shoulder to pull out one side of the bag, which has all your items, like your grenades and your gas mask filter and things, yeah. And then the other side is your weapons. You get a few different weapons in the game. No weapon customization or anything, but you get like a shotgun and a stealthy crossbow and an assault rifle and a pistol, and yeah, one side for each kind of thing. You can swap between all your items. That kind of lends into the whole scavenging mechanics, which the Metro games are well known for. Metro series as a whole has always placed a lot of importance on ammo. Ammo is like a really rare resource in the Metro Underground, so you can use it for currency or you can use it for shooting things. In this game, there's no store, so you don't have to worry about saving your ammo in case you want to buy things. But you still do have to scavenge ammo, so you physically pick that up, you put that to your chest, and it goes automatically into your backpack. The Metro series, if you've played it before, viewers, you'll know that there are lots of times when you have to go through radioactive areas, put on a gas mask, and keep an eye on your timer to make sure the gas mask filter doesn't run out, and you need to change your filter so that you don't start getting irradiated. It's the same here. You physically put on or take off a gas mask. Your filter timer is on your watch, so you can literally lift your hand up and look at your watch to see how much time on the filter is left. In the Metro games as well, there was always a button to press. Basically, your gas mask would get steamed up, hot and sweaty. And in the flat games, you'd press a button. Here, you actually use your hand to wipe the mist away, which is very immersive as well.
That's so cool. That's such a small thing as well. But as someone who wears glasses, when you go outside, the same thing happens to your glasses. That would make me uncomfortably invested in my physical safety in VR if I was like, oh god, this real thing is happening.
No, it's great. It works really well. It really feels like you have a gas mask on your face, so you get a little bit of almost like claustrophobia, because you can hear the guy's breathing change a little bit when he's wearing it and stuff. And the other thing that from Metro series gameplay would be the torch. So this game takes place in the dark a lot. In the other games, you had a torch that you had to recharge with, a little personal recharger thing. In this one, it's the same. It's located on your backpack. You just have to take this recharger off, give it a crank of the handle, and that recharging kit will recharge your head torch. So you'll be able to see in the darkness better again, because after about 3 minutes that torch runs out, and then you're in trouble because it just flickers really dully.
Excellent. I mean, not excellent, absolutely terrifying. So you mentioned the narrative earlier. All of the Metro games have always had like this quite deep survival horror, but they've still got a really strong story behind it. So is that the same for Awakening? Yes,
it is the same for Awakening, and in a way, because this is a VR game, maybe there's a bit too much narrative here.
Okay.
I think if you're a fan of the Metro series for its narrative, you won't be as bothered by this as I was. I've always found my favourite parts of the Metro games have always been the stealth and the combat, and the story stuff kind of takes a backseat for me. Some people will be there for the story, the philosophy of it all and things. And there is a lot of that there, which means that the pacing in this game can be a bit sluggish. There's a very slow intro. I remember playing the original Metro game and loving the slow intro and wandering around and listening to people talk. All these survivors talking about their daily life. It's the same here at the very first level. You can wander around the station, listen to people having conversations. But I've got a bit over that now, and I just wanted to get into the game. So it was a very, very slow intro. The game does then ramp up quite a bit in the middle, but the pacing again. It dies down in the last few chapters where it goes really, really narrative heavy. Again, I don't want to spoil any story stuff, but I think one of my main problems with this game is that you spend a lot of time standing, listening to people talking at you, or walking along as people are talking at you. It's a good way to fill the silence, I guess, when a lot of the game is wandering through dark corridors. But there were moments where I was just like sat twiddling my thumbs. I'd like pull my headset up and have a quick check on my phone. If you're going into this game looking for a pure survival horror game with, tension going all the way through, that's not going to be what you get. You'll get that in small doses, but it'll be sandwiched between lots of exposition, which I just found a little bit dull at times.
So it sounds like it's quite linear then, because Exodus was an open world, so I'm assuming that by the sounds of what you're saying, it's a fairly linear experience. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. It is a very linear experience. I think this is kind of where the game started to fall apart for me. I love the earlier Metro games. I really liked Metro Exodus because of its open world stuff, but each Metro game the ones before it are fairly linear, but they still had a nice bit of variety to them. You could go outside, you could explore the ruins of a crashed jumbo jet and see ghosts pop up and things. It was always kind of surprising you, whereas this one, you never go outside. You're always in tight corridors or metro tunnels or crawling down human-sized vents or these copy and paste tunnels, and it just it's very atmospheric in the way that you feel like you're in a Moscow metro apocalyptic underground, but it gets very, very repetitive. Like, I'd say, like, the first 3 hours of this game, you're like, whoa, this game's awesome, right? And then by the end, I was like, I've seen this before. And it is very repetitive. You go through the same areas over and over again, and you start to notice that it's the same areas over and over again. And even if it's not actually the same area over and over again, it's the same bit of set that they've just dressed slightly differently.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the tile sets in Skyrim, where once you've played it for long enough, when you go into a dungeon or like a ruin or something, you're like, oh yeah, I know that bit of like scenery from there and that bit from there. Yeah.
Exactly that. Also, just a lot of repetition happens generally in the game. Like this guy, Serdar, he gets knocked out like 6 times. Like
Wear a helmet, my dude.
I know, there are 12 chapters in the game, right? And I reckon in at least 50% of them, they either start or end with him getting knocked out and groggily waking up. And it's the same, like, with the stealthy bits as well. They're my favourite bits of the game, and they give you a little flavour of maybe like a mini open world. This is like super mini. It's just like a room with some vents that you can crawl in and out of. But they give you a little bit more of a playground to play with, and they made it feel a little bit more like it was my own choice rather than I was being led by the narrative. And I will say that, as I mentioned, it's a really strong start. First 3 hours, really good. It kind of tricks you in a way, this game. Like a lot of, like, I can imagine a lot of people's first impressions are, this is the next Half-Life Alyx. This is amazing, because you start off in this in Serdar's room, right? And everything in there is physics based. You can pick things up. You can pick up a guitar and you can play the guitar. You can play the piano. You can throw chess pieces at chess pieces. You can pick up books and cuddly toys, and it's like, whoa, there's so much here to play with and fiddle with. It's super immersive. But then as you play through the game, all these interactive things start to kind of disappear. You still see them dotted around, but you can no longer interact with them, and it kind of falls away. This mega interactive facade falls away a bit, and then that's when you start to realize the levels do start to get a bit bland and repetitive.
It sounds like they front-loaded it with all the good stuff at the beginning, and then they kind of stopped like partway through, or like it dwindled out.
Absolutely. I feel like, there will be lots of reviews where people are going, or not lots of reviews, but let's plays of people who've played the first 3 hours and go, this is amazing, I can't. And then, like, I feel like their enthusiasm, like mine, will drop off once they start to see the patterns forming. And
that's a shame. So I think, for me personally, I've always associated the Metro games with just pure terror. Because you're very often, almost always, like super underpowered, and the creatures in the game are terrifying, especially because you have to sneak through like underground tunnels and ruined buildings and stuff. So is Metro Awakening scary?
It is terrifying at points.
Oh, okay.
It is very scary at points. I find it hard to get scared by things.
I know, you're really difficult to properly terrify.
Yeah, but there are some really anxiety-inducing, panic-inducing moments in here. Again, they're kind of few and far between. There's multiple reasons for that. One is the linearity of it and the repetition, so you can kind of tell when monsters are going to appear, and you can kind of you start to see the gameplay mechanics as you go, so you know what's going to happen when it's going to
Yeah.
happen. There's also not a huge amount of monsters, right? There's in the other Metro games there are more types of monsters than just 2, but here there are only 2 monsters.
Oh.
So it's the little rat kind of ones. I can't remember what they're called, and then the Nosalis, which are like bigger rat things, basically. And there are 2 types of human enemies. There are the like scavengers, and then there's another faction, and then there are spiders. Now, the spiders are the things that are gonna scare people a lot, even if you don't have arachnophobia, because this game, like, the spiders are really annoying enemies. They creep around, they're super fast, and when you have limited ammo, you really don't want to go shooting and wasting your ammo on these spiders, but they jump all over you. They jump on your, like, gas mask. You can see their, like, little legs popping out over your peripheral vision and on the back of your head. You can lift your hand up sometimes, and there'll be a spider on your hand, then you got to shake your hand and flick it off. And these spider levels... One of the worst levels in this game involves a labyrinth where you have to follow sounds to move around, and it's just another example of it being a very repetitive gameplay experience. And if you don't follow the sounds properly, it takes you back to the beginning, and you have to keep going through it again and again. And these spiders just pop up, and you're like, oh, I've just wasted all my ammo. Now I've got no ammo. There's no melee attack in this game, so then you just have to...
There's none at all?
No. There is a stealth attack. You can crouch down behind people and then bop them on the head to knock them out.
I'm assuming you can't do that on the spiders, though.
Not really, no. The stealth stuff is basically the only time when you can really do a melee attack. So if you run out of ammo, you kind of screwed. The crossbow gun, you can retrieve the ammo for it, but the spider levels, because they move so fast. I mean, the monsters in this game generally move really fast, and their monster moments come in like they often attack in waves, so they're real quick waves, like real waves of really quick monsters will charge at you, and that gets kind of scary because you're in this VR experience. You're looking around, you can see like glimpses of something moving out the corner of your eye, and then you can hear them like growling and running towards you, like, oh my god. Very, very panicky, which is a bit different to the human fighting. The fighting the humans isn't scary.
Yeah.
But it does have like awesome stealth opportunities, like sneaking up behind people, punching them in the head and disarming them. In fact, like, I think my favorite part of the game, and again, few and far between, are the stealthy stuff, because it feels like the old school Metro games where you have a bit more freedom to go about the combat as you want. You're not just waiting for waves of monsters to swarm at you from the darkness.
Yeah.
So, like, I liked to turn my head torch off, sneak through vents, sneak up behind someone, punch them in the back of the head. And then what's really cool, another cool, like, scavenging moment that I forgot to mention is that when you knock them out, they drop their guns, or when you kill them, they drop their guns. And then you can grab their guns because ammo is so scarce. You can pick up their guns, take out the magazine, then you can store that in your chest, throw the gun away. So that added to the kind of believability of it, like taking out all these people, stealing their ammo, and like, made me feel like made me feel like a proper like sneaky scavenger, like survivalist guy, which was cool. But the spiders and the spider sections, they suck. I hate them. I'm not scared. Sorry, I'm not scared of spiders, but they were frustrating to me.
Yeah, it just sounds like it would have been a cool feature to have in one small section, but not so much that you're like, okay, I'm really actually annoyed about this now. Like, if you give someone a bowl of chocolate ice cream, it's great for the first bowl. You don't want to keep having it over and over again, otherwise you're just like, oh god, I hate myself.
Exactly. There's about 3 or 4 fairly identical spidery bits. There's spidery bits in the other Metro games as well. It's just, as with the rest of the game, it's like its ideas are stretched out very thin.
Oh dear. So how long is it then?
I took about 8 hours to play through, but I was kind of rushing. there are a lot of collectible postcards that you can find. I think there's like 3 on each level, which I don't know, maybe will increase the playtime a bit more if you want to go searching for the collectible postcards. But it's very much, it's not as long as Batman, which took me over 12 hours.
And you love Batman.
I did. And it's a kind of game where I don't think I'd ever want to go back to it and find all the collectible postcards. I think one and done. Played through it. I enjoyed it. I'm critical of some large portions of it, but you know, it was a decent experience. But I wouldn't go back and find all the postcards.
Yeah, that's very fair. So did you have any technical issues with it then?
So I played, I should specify before I say anything about this, I played on the PSVR2 version. In terms of like interactivity and motion controls, things like that, no problems with that at all, beside the occasional clumsily picking up a gun when I wanted to pull out my backpack to get a lighter or something. Just minor user error issues there. There were 2 or 3 crashes to the dashboard in the final chapter of the game, which I was quite surprised by. I don't know why they happened.
Yeah, that's a very specific point for it to happen.
Yeah.
Was it because there was like a lot going on or something?
Could have been. I was like running through a spider maze at the time, so it could just been adding
more
insult
spiders.
to injury. More spiders, please.
Yeah.
And then what was the other thing? Because I was playing it through all in a big chunk, I'd occasionally go off and have a break, and I'd pause the game. When I came back and unpaused the game would freeze. Sometimes it would sort itself out after a minute or 2. Other times I had to restart the game. Again, that one is just me pausing the game, you know.
But even when you leave I've left a game paused on the PS5, and overnight I've come back in the morning and it picks up completely fine. I don't know about you, but games freezing, like it triggers some sort of like primordial rage inside of me. So I can appreciate the frustration with that.
It's very frustrating, especially if you're stuck inside it and it's like everything's frozen. The main technical issue I found, and this I'm assuming is completely down to the PlayStation VR2 version. I'm going to be doing a written review of this game for Eurogamer, hopefully go up tomorrow. Tonight I'm going to try out the PC version of this game to see if just to compare, because the PlayStation VR2, as much as I love it, it has these things called Fresnel lenses on it, which have this effect called Mura. I don't know if you know what Mura is, but
absolutely not.
Okay, so basically it's almost like where you can see the pixels in the lenses.
Ew.
And each pixel is slightly different brightness, almost like a film grain over the top of it, but the film grain never changes. So it's like looking through like a gritty, grainy filter. This isn't a problem for me normally, because most games are very bright, like Horizon Mountain, whatever it was called. Horizon Climber Mountain was beautiful and bright, and I never noticed the mirror effect on it. But because Metro Awakening is set underground in the darkness, and it involves doing a lot of stuff with the torch off, I found the Mura so noticeable. Like every time I was sneaking around in the dark, it was like I had this fuzzy filter over my eyes. It made things really, really like it took me out of the experience. It was that bad. When my torch is shining, or when I was in a light area, it didn't affect me. But as soon as I got into a dim, dark area with no torch, and I could just see this mirror effect, like in a way I'd never experienced before, and it was actually like it pulled me out of the experience massively, which is why I want to check it out on PC, just to see, because I don't like the Quest 3 I have has pancake lenses, so that it shouldn't be a problem, the dim environments, but. Yeah, that was a real shame, and I think that's going to affect people's enjoyment of the PSVR2 version compared to the PC version.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
but like I said, I'm gonna try that out tonight just to check. But I'm pretty sure that is a platform-specific problem. But if you find viewers, if you're a PSVR2 headset owner and you find the Mura on those lenses annoying, this game is definitely not for you.
Oh dear. So you've mentioned the Mura on the lenses, which is so fun to say. So I get super bad motion sickness when I'm in VR. How good are the comfort settings? Like, would you recommend it to any layman, or do you have to be kind of familiar with VR to not want to fucking throw up?
Well, this game, as per usual, I played sat down, and this game has all the standard. It's got actually a really good amount of comfort settings. I was easily able to play it sat down. I don't have comfort settings on, so I turned them all off, but there's like vignettes for turning, vignettes for movement. You can have teleport to move, you can have smooth move. Like the Batman game, you couldn't teleport to move. It was just smooth move. There's click turning and everything. Basically, I wouldn't recommend it for very new VR heads, just because it can be quite scary and intense in that way. Which you might want to, ease yourself in before you try like a really creepy, intense horror game.
Yeah.
But in terms of motion and stuff, motion sickness settings, it's got everything you'd need to be able to tailor it to your exact specifics. So it's excellent work there.
Oh, good. Excellent. So the like big shadow that's been over this entire review for me is, I mean, fittingly, and this pun wasn't intended, Batman, because those of you who aren't in our meetings, none of you are in our meetings, I hope, unless you've hacked in somehow. Ian has been gushing over this game. And I mean, rightly so, like I've seen the comments and people clearly love it. How does Metro compare to Batman Arkham Shadow?
Well, Batman Arkham Shadow...
Does it compare at all?
It doesn't compare. It does a little bit.
Okay.
Batman Arkham Shadow is definitely the better game by far. I reviewed Batman Arkham Shadow. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I wanted to give it a 5 out of 5, but it crashed a lot, and there were a lot of bugs in it. If they'd have
not
put
spiders, just bugs.
No, just technical spiders this time. They a couple more months of polish, and if they'd released that without all the issues, that would have been a 5 out of 5 for me. Even at 4 out of 5, I still think Batman Arkham Shadow is better than Metro Awakening. There are many reasons for this. Graphically, Batman Arkham Shadow, even just the standalone Quest 3 game, looks better than Metro Awakening. There are some really nice graphical details in Metro Awakening, but it's just dark, dingy tunnels over and over and over again. Very repetitive, as I've said before. Character models aren't as great. Like Batman Arkham Shadow had great motion capture and lip sync and facial animations and textures, and just nowhere near as good the characters in this as they are in Batman Arkham Shadow. You don't have, like in Batman Arkham Shadow as well, you had a full Batman body. You could look down and you could see Batman's arms and legs. This is just floating hands, which some people find breaks immersion a bit. And also Batman, even though Batman was also fairly linear in places, it did have a more open world type feel, and it definitely felt more immersive, even though in Batman there were bits where you would retread the same areas you'd gone to before. It never felt repetitive. It always felt kind of fresh and something different was happening. And also Batman has these like awesome like moving around the world with Batman's grapple hook is really fun, like zipping around. There's bits in Batman where you can grab your cape and float down, like you can see Batman's shadow with his wings out as he goes towards an enemy.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's awesome. Makes you feel like Batman, makes it feel like it's just a super cool, smooth, awesome VR experience. Loved it. In Metro, there's no cool movement. You just walk around. If you're climbing down something, you just like kind of pop down. You just jump down. You know, there's no real like nice, fluid, cool movie. And you know that you're playing someone who lives in the Moscow metro after an apocalypse. You're not going to be zipping around on, you know, on grapple hooks and stuff. No, but I just, yeah, it just didn't have the fluidity that I enjoyed from Batman Arkham Shadow. And again, Batman Arkham Shadow did try a lot of different things. Metro is just the same few sections over and over again. Like there's bits where you go on the metro carts and you man a mounted gun and you shoot at Nosalis as they run down the tunnel at you. And the first time you do it, it's like, oh shit, this is crazy. These things are trying to swarm me. I'm scared. And then by the 6th time you've done it, you're just like, okay, I've done this. You know, it's the same thing, different hour of the game.
Yeah. So what are your final thoughts about Metro Awakening?
Metro Awakening is a very good companion to the Metro series. It fits in very well with the previous games. So if you loved the other Metro games, you will enjoy this one as well, especially for the narrative stuff and the philosophy and everything that it goes into about death and what happens afterwards. It is a very good spooky VR game, which will make you very scared in places and make you panic and, you know, get all your hands muddled up when you're trying to reach for guns because things are running at you and, oh my God, things are, you know, that's all great. The stealth stuff is good when it's there, but it's very few and far between. I really wanted more stealthy human killing sections, but just not as much as I wanted. It
sounds like it's fine.
Basically, I'm scoring it a 3 out of 5. Right?
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
It is a decent VR game.
Yes.
That does what it needs to do.
Yeah.
But
I mean, what kind of praise is that? Like, it's a game that I played.
It's Metro in VR. I played it. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it to people who like survival horror games, who like the Metro series of games. If you don't like survival horror games, don't buy it. If you don't like the Metro games, don't bother, because there's a lot of narrative in there which will just go straight over your head. It starts off making you think it's like super interactive and after like the 3-hour mark it becomes a bit by the numbers, repetitive. So it's a good effort, and I would recommend it to most people who have VR, with the caveat that it's also got a lot of flaws in terms of repetition and pacing.
Cool.
And that's about it.
And that's it. Well, thanks so much for telling me about Metro Awakening. I do not have a VR unit, so I will not be playing it, but I always love hearing what you think about VR games. It's a portal into a world that I am woefully unprepared for.
Well, you're welcome. And viewers, if you want to hear more about VR, there are some links on screen and clickable right now, including a link to my Batman VR review chat that I did with Jim. If you enjoyed this little look at Metro Exodus, then do give the video a like. Please do subscribe to Eurogamer for almost daily videos about video games. And do have a lovely day, and don't get lost in the Moscow Metro, because it's scary to have
spiders.